Yo, what's up? I figured I'd kind of put my thoughts of the latest Game of Thrones episode into a video instead of trying to get it all out on flooding the text chat with it. Sean, I did catch your video, and yeah, like I said, I think I agree with most of what you said. The big thing that kind of got me with this is I was upset with this episode because it made me want to root for Cersei, because they, Jon, Daenerys, all those people did so much dumb stuff. It like kind of took me right back to The Walking Dead, where it was like stupid people doing stupid things. And Game of Thrones, I feel like, set up a precedence where you can do stupid, honorable things, but you'll be punished for it. And it's like these people are still kind of limping along forward. Now, like, they're getting punished here and there. Like, yeah, they lost the dragon, spoilers and everything like that. But, yeah, you know, they did take some losses from it, but it's just like they're not learning from any of these losses. They just keep making the same mistakes over and over. I thought the best line of the episode is Tyrion saying, well, maybe Cersei kills us all and that'll solve all of our problems. Like, yeah, at this point, kind of it would, because you guys seem woefully unequipped to handle this. Strategically, alliances, like everything. Like, it's all kind of a mess, I feel like. I'll go back to what I originally started to talk about, was the scene where, after the funeral pyres and stuff like that, there was some interesting notes with that. Like, something that really came out of this, they said that half the Dothraki forces were still alive. Now, I call BS on that, because like I feel like 10% would be a generous number, because like maybe 10% made it back from the horse charge, and that's assuming that like maybe all those 10% survived the actual fight and, you know, beyond the initial slaughter. It might be like a movie magic kind of thing, where it's like they can only show so much. Like, maybe that was like part of the Dothraki forces were in reserve somewhere around the back. We don't know. Like, there's a lot that like you kind of have to take people. You can't take exactly what you saw for as a literal representation. Like the funeral pyres and stuff like that. Like, they did probably as much as they could do with the budget. Like, the reality is they should have CG'd about like 500 to 1,000 more pyres out there that are stacked high with bodies, because the losses there seemed very, very severe, and that funeral pyre kind of undersold it. But I'm not complaining about that, because it is a television show and they do have budget constraints, I'm sure. Even something as big as Game of Thrones. So it's like we kind of accept or at least I accept that like the numbers they give us are accurate, even though they aren't completely accurate as the way they're portrayed in the show. Like, maybe half the Dothraki forces were in reserve and only half of them were wiped out in that initial charge. And like, that wasn't all of the Dothraki forces lined up there. That all being said, so like I said, interesting things came out about like basically half their forces were lost in that battle. Man, it felt like a whole lot more than half of their forces were lost. Like, I was thinking they were down to 15-20%. And I think whenever Tamir and I were talking, he rings me up here right now, and again, we'll get some Game of Thrones talking. And it's like, that's what we kind of surmised, is like, we're generous if we're saying 25%, maybe 15% of their forces. But like, how could they win? It's like, they have Arya as a top-notch assassin. They have 2 dragons. They have Bran as a source of information. Like, they have the tools needed to win. But it's like, no, they're actually, like, they apparently still have the military force to contest what Cersei has, just in open field combat. Like the Unsullied, the Dothraki, the Northerners. It's just, it wasn't portrayed properly in the show, which I can forgive. So yeah, we get to the scene of the Great Hall, and this is something that really bothered me as far as Daenerys as a ruler. I feel like she's been through enough lands to understand, like, even some of like those slaver things where she met with certain people. It's like, it didn't always work out, but like, there's a certain understanding that you need to schmooze with these people, I guess is the best way to put it. You need to, like, as opposed, like, it's great, like the thing she did with Gendry, like, that was definitely a political move, making him the Lord of Storm's End, I think it is, like, making him a proper Baratheon. Like, okay, yeah, and Tyrion acknowledged as much. Like, that was smart. But like, Jon is the hero of the North, and he was the hero of the North before you befriended him, before you basically became his ally and slash lover. But like, even looking like from like alliance perspective, like, he was the hero of the North before that. He's built up this reputation and he like you said, I think, like Sean said, like, he's in her corner like 100%. Like, to not take advantage of that, to basically sit back and keep yourself at a distance at such a time, and then kind of look so disgruntled, I thought it came off as. It's like, she's kind of seeing the. I mean, I get like I kind of get why. It's like had that knowledge bombshell dropped on her um, about like Jon being Aegon. I don't think like the whole ant thing would bother her that much because that's like a Targaryen thing. Like I think her concern would be like that's just not a Stark thing. Like the people in the North don't marry their aunts or anything like that. For her family, it's pretty commonplace. And like considering she was sold off to a horse lord when she was I don't know like 12 in the books and like 16, 18 in the show, whatever her age was. Like I forget how young she was supposed to be. Like yeah, like I feel like the whole idea of like the inner family thing wouldn't be. It'd be more about worried about him as opposed to worried about her. But like I said, him having a claim to the throne, it's like I feel like she knows him well enough to understand the person he is, how he was raised. He was a bastard. He was on the outside. He doesn't seek power, and like her worrying about like him making the grab for power, like I feel like that's I don't even know if she is worried about it. Like I guess she's worried about if people find out about it that they'll basically insist, which is a fair worry. But at this point in time, like it's a worry, but like man, like this is your moment to like make yourself part of the North. Like you were up there riding a dragon defending Winterfell, and that's what I think I mentioned in the message is like Tormund's there talking up like Jon being like this crazy dragon rider. Like if she's there by his side, Jon's gonna be like, yeah, it's like, why do you think I learned how or I was able to ride a dragon? Like she's the dragon rider. Like she's the one. She's the OG. She's the one who started all this. She was like the mother of these dragons, and it's like it's not that I conquered them or anything like that. It's like she brought the, she basically allowed me to do this, and I feel like it's one of those ones like like I said, what I was getting at is like Tormund respects Brienne. Tormund obviously is infatuated with Brienne, like, cause she's very tall, but like I think he also like part of his attraction to her is the fact that she's a warrior too, like that she's statuesque. She's like this like like kind of like a knight, like a prop. Like he doesn't see many female knights or like not knights, but like that kind of like knightly type person in the South. So like I think there's definitely a reason he's infatuated with her, but like in the same reason he's also infatuated with Jon. Like Jon's like this small little northerner. He's like objectively short, and he's very short compared to Tormund. Like even like Sansa is taller than Jon, and it's like, but despite that, like he's got this great fighting spirit inside of him, and like like it's one of those ones as someone who's very tall and his name is Giant's Bane and everything like that. He has like an also respect for someone who's such a small stature, but who has proven themselves to be like this fearless warrior or this great like this kind of great battlefield commander or like someone who's come back from the dead. Like I feel like you get Tormund on your side, or Daenerys gets Tormund on your side. Like I feel like he's like that social butterfly of the party that kind of like spreads things around and like talks people up before like the whole Brienne thing. But like that's what I said. It's just like I feel like he gets out there or she gets out there, stays a little closer to Jon, and that evening goes much differently. Like I think she at the very end of it gets celebrated along with Jon, just because of Jon's support with her, and she kind of makes herself a little bit warmer to the North as opposed to like the kind of the cold shoulder she's gotten so far. Now like Sansa's still on some nonsense. Like I'm still kind of, I know she doesn't trust Daenerys or anything like that. I don't trust Daenerys. I think like it's a fair point to say that like her mental state has been sufficiently stressed where there's potential to be cracks as far as like her snapping or like her basically using this dragon like to burn everything down, which like some would say she's probably in the right to do at this point. Like listen, like some people are going to die, but like we're going to get this done. Like it's the way it's got to be. It's unfortunate, but it's the way it's got to be. But like Sansa is just like she makes it difficult every step of the way. Which I feel like is a bad play. Like it's the head on play. It's like you don't go out to meet a bull and like deck your head against its horns. It's like you hold up the red thing and kind of pull it away. It's like she's not really baiting them. She's making herself a target, like making herself a potential enemy. And I think Tyrion tries to like temper her, Sansa, on this specifically. It's like you don't need like you'll be the power in the North. Like Jon's going south and everything like that. Like the two of them love each other, so like they're not going to be apart. So it's like you're going to be the power, and this isn't an enemy you want. And it's like Sansa, for all her experience that she's gained, is still playing very naive about the way to go. And like basically, you know, between like goading Jamie on to goading Daenerys on, it's just like she's just like, oh yeah, I'm a badass now, so like I'm just gonna talk a bunch of smack, and it's like you're not high up enough where you're untouchable at this point. So I feel like she's playing things really poorly, and like I said, I've been annoyed with her for a little bit. Just the like it's one thing to be obstinate to your inner circle, but like to be outwardly obstinate to the people who you're hosting, your guests, like the person who brings an army up there and ensures your survival, the person who like bleeds with you, like yeah, that's some nonsense. Like that's you suck it up and you play the part. Otherwise, you make yourself a target, a known enemy. Like that's just not playing the political game smart. Um, so that's my issue. Well, I have a lot of issues with Sansa in this episode. Uh, the whole Jon and Daenerys thing, like I think it's kind of telling. Like Jon was raised by the Starks, and it's like he was raised by Ned specifically, and it's like it's funny because Ned kept him a secret all of his life, and Jon can't keep him. He kept him a secret from his wife, his children, and everyone that knew him to protect Jon's life. But Jon can't do the same to Sansa and Arya. Like that was kind of weird to me. And it's like I guess it never occurred to him. I guess he's kind of still in that twisted honor stuff. But like Ned, who is like the most honorable person that a lot of people would in people's minds would think of like as being like the traditional noble type. It's like Ned kept that secret, and I feel like having someone around there to remind him of that. I mean, like I said, I guess he had Bran and he had Sam, and neither one of those, I guess, are on that political thing. But like, I feel like if like I mean, not even Varys, because like Varys has his kind of own agenda to the, and like I said, if he thinks Jon's the better pick, like Varys has his own agenda. But someone like Varys, but also in Jon and Daenerys' corner, would be the one to be like, listen, if I knew this, like Ned kept this a secret, you should too, like absolutely. Like even from your family, from your your closest things. And that was the upsetting part to me, is in one breath like Sansa's like, yeah, like you need to be like representing family, House Stark and all that stuff, like trust and honor and all that kind of stuff. And it's like, okay, swear to me you're going to keep this secret. And the first thing she does is blow the secret out of the water. And it's like, what happened to this whole speeches thing? Like, it's just, to me, like, I understand, I think why she did it, like just kind of being around Littlefinger and understanding like the power of information and seeding it out there to the right people. Like on the one hand, like the first person she talked to was Tyrion, and she blabbed to him. Like, yeah, that was my initial gut reaction, but she probably also understood the potency of seeding that information to him, as far as the significant person goes. So I think it was intentional, but it was also still really scummy to do. Yeah, it really rubbed me the wrong way, because it's like she was on that high horse of like, oh, we're Starks and everything like that. We gotta be each other back, and she swears to him, like I know Arya does, and like I believe Arya would keep that secret. Like I feel like Arya, given who she is, would keep that secret. But like the fact that Sansa blew it open right away was just like, it was really upsetting. Like it's like, man, like your character is just unpleasant at this point. Like I mean, like I said, if she's playing to win, I can understand it, but like you're just not likable. Like you're getting up there with Cersei. Like you're not like monstrous as far as her action goes, but like, man, like kind of like every vow you make, let's just go back on it immediately. Like let's treat your allies because you think less of them like absolute scum. Like it's just like it's not an endearing characteristic in any way, and not something that makes an endearing leader, I don't think. The Arya and Gendry scene, I skipped around a little bit. Like I was kind of like, you know what, like Arya, you're not like a faceless person. Like you basically chose to take your sword and become Arya Stark again. Like, so you're still Arya Stark. You might not be a lady, and like I said, she might not want to settle down or get married or anything like that. But like, let's not pretend here like you're just basically some lone wolf assassin out there. Like you failed the faceless men, like the many-faced god or whatever it was. Like you failed that test, and you managed to kill the waif and everything like that, but that wasn't your task. Like that wasn't your thing. Like you couldn't give up who and what you were to do that. Like, so yeah, if she wants to be out there like Arya Stark, like assassin for hire, it's like, I guess. But like, again, I feel like, are we in a point in time where Gendry's gonna be like, yeah, you need to stay in the house and make babies or anything like that? Like I feel like hear Gendry out a little bit. Like maybe he's got a plan for things. Like maybe you're gonna be like I'm just like what's it called? Like Daenerys is like a dragon rider. Like I don't think anyone's going to get her to stop doing that as far as like battles and stuff goes. It's like, why would someone stop, Arya Stark in the same kind of position? Like, she immediately went to like that very, oh, that's the traditional role. You're the house, the housewife. You stay at home, and it's like you have someone right there in your presence who is not that person, who is basically vying to be queen. So like I don't know, like it was just one of those. I'm not saying she had to do it or anything like that, but I feel like she dismissed the opportunity very quickly, especially how powerful that would be to unite like the Baratheon and Stark houses, and kind of like how that was, I think, kind of always a wish of her father, which she was always very close to Ned. Like, I don't know if it's a direct wish, but like I feel like that would have been something like Ned would have liked. So, you know, it's just like that's more personal opinion than like what she should have, what I feel like was right or wrong. Um, Man, the planning phase, I was annoyed again. I was annoyed at Daenerys this time because uh, Sansa had a good point. Like it wasn't like, hey, we're backing out of things. It's like, hey, this is a meeting where we're spitballing ideas and letting people know. Like Sansa came out and said, is I have a concern for this. I'm going to check with my generals and see the situation. And she pointed out, like, listen, your armies are battered too. Maybe you should do the same. And then, like, Daenerys snapped at her. And it's just like, you too? Like, it's just like one of those, it was such a catty thing, I thought. And I would have hoped that the Battle of the Dead would have put that, a little bit of that aside. Where it's like, listen, like, we're trying to make smart military decisions at this point to make this go as best as possible. But no, let's just, like, charge ahead blindly. And the fact that like there was such a snap at like it wasn't Sansa even saying that we're not going to do this. It's just like, let me check with my generals, let me check with my house lords or whatever to see the state, like to give you numbers of how many able fighting men we have, how many are injured. If we go down there and do a show of force, it's like, okay, we bring 10,000 men, but only 6,000 are in fighting shape. We need to know that. Like it's just it rubbed me the wrong way. And it was in Sansa's favor because she had a good point. And Daenerys had a really poor point. Like, Jon kind of sticking up for Daenerys. I understand why he did it, because it's like Dany's still like super edgy about whether or not like the North are going to follow her or anything like that, and they're going to back out. But man, like I feel like you've given a lot of leeway to people before for stuff like that. And these people are probably your more proven allies than people were in the past. Like, you basically fought and bled and died side by side by them. And you've just been through the ringer with this terrible event. Now, like I said, obviously some time passed. I don't know if it was like the next night that, when they had this meeting or what, but it's like a couple days or whatever. But yeah, like I said, I still feel like that whole thing was just really handled poorly from kind of all sides. Jon and Daenerys, and not like Sansa had like good points, but it's just like it was everything that Sansa done up to that point probably made it a lot harder for her to get her point across, which kind of brings me back to that old point of, hey, listen, you play a little nicer, maybe Daenerys doesn't snap at you for saying that. Like, you build her trust up as like, okay, you don't have like this where she has to be obstinate about it, where Daenerys is like, okay, no, you're gonna be backing out of this deal, we're gonna go now. It's like, she doesn't say that if she trusts Sansa, and if Sansa does a better job of building up that trust, even if she doesn't trust her, then she's not put in that situation. So, like I said, it's poor decisions building up to exacerbate situations. This is something that bothered me in retrospect. Was and it's something I accept, is we don't know exactly how much time passes between point X and point Y unless it's explicitly mentioned. So from the time Dany goes from Dragon's Keep or Dragonstone, I think it's Dragonstone, up to the north, prepares for the battle, fights the dead, gets ready to move out. We don't know how much time has passed. What we do know in retrospect after this episode is played out is the Cersei, like King's Landing, has a upgraded Scorpion on every not every corner of the thing, but like every section of the wall. Like, if you looked, like, they basically had those upgraded Scorpions like every, let's say, 40 or 60 feet, and they had a lot of them. They also had them mounted on a fleet of ships. So logistically speaking, a fair amount of time must have passed for there to be an upgraded design, for it to be tested, for it to be mass produced, and then also mass installed on both land and sea. Like, that's no small undertaking. So it makes Dany's decision to immediately march south that much worse, because she apparently gave her opponents plenty of time to prepare since their last dragon attack for dragons, at which point 2 more weeks wouldn't have made them any more prepared because they already have those scorpions over every square inch of King's Landing. So like that's something that we didn't understand how poor that decision was until she actually got down there, and that's ignoring the fact that they ignored Bran as far as as an information, like an intel thing. Like I feel like that's just one of those ones like where this like John, Arya, or Sansa would be like, hey, how about before we go down there, we go look to the all-seeing three-eyed Raven and say, hey, all-seeing three-eyed Raven, what have our foes been up to this entire time? Have they set an ambush for us down along the road? Have they? Oh, and Brad's like, oh yeah, by the way, like Qyburn has designed this upgraded thing that's much better and much more accurate at killing dragons, and they've installed them everywhere and on the fleet, and they're basically setting up traps around the area for you to hopefully fall into and ambush you. So be careful when you're flying down there. That's kind of the advantage of having this all-seeing, all-knowing thing that could see past events. Like the design, the installation, and the implementation of these upgraded scorpions are a past event. They're a recently past event, but they're a past event nonetheless. Like they're not currently happening. We didn't see any kind of hints of construction whenever they were there. They were just up and already set up. So yeah, like that was just like a big ball drop, and it's like you're already kind of like fighting downhill, and you're just making stupid decisions on top of stupid decisions. You fly the dragons down to Dragonstone. I want to say it's Dragonstone again. From what I understand of the map, Dragonstone is just a kind of a short distance and a good like staging points from King's Landing. Why wouldn't you scout it out? Like, why would you be taking your main forces and your main dragons flying close to the ground, like instead of scouting the area? Like that's just, it's like anyone who has any kind of military knowledge would know, like, oh, like Dragonstone is like actually a really really good place to hold, and if you're gonna assault King Landing, like that's a place that they used before as a staging area. So hey, let's look for traps there. And I'm not even talking like them randomly hiding a fleet of ships somewhere that dragons can't see, but like just like listen, scout the area out. Like that was just one of those beyond stupid and arrogant kind of things. And it's like it's beyond underestimating your opponents. I feel like to a frustrating degree. Like I said, to me it harkens back to The Walking Dead, where it's just like they would just do the stupidest things that would get them killed. It's like at some point you get frustrated because no one learns from their lessons. They just keep doing stupid things, and these people just keep dying. It's like, oh. But like I said, so like Game of Thrones, I think has made a better historical example of like punishing those people who do those things, and or like at least punishing them more severely. Like yeah, she lost the dragon, yeah, she lost some shit, but it's like we learned that like apparently she still gets her forces of Dragonstones because Euron randomly runs or he attacks the fleet a little bit and shreds them with those scorpions, but then randomly decides to back off now that he killed a dragon. And it's like, I feel like at that point, why not engage and like wipe out 2/3 of their forces, because you have such a massive upper hand as far as firepower goes. Like that was just like one of those, oh, we have 2 or more episodes left. Hey, I better like back off and go tell Cersei, like run off and be like, hey, guess what? I killed a dragon and I killed some of their ships and I took a prisoner. When he could have like done a much more devastating blow. Like it's just one of those. I feel like someone with a better military, and like Euron's been like undefeated at this point. Like this dude's a beast when it comes to Navy. Like I said, at this point, like it's looking like Cersei's gonna win, and I kind of hope she does, because the other people seem like they're acting like idiots at this point. There's kind of like that naive, overly not realistic. I don't know. I can't think of the word I'm looking for. Like kind of the naive, optimistic youth is like Jon and Daenerys. When Jon isn't like that optimistic person, but it's like that's how they're kind of acting, and like they're kind of going headstrong. It's like, oh no, this is our right and our destiny. And what's his name? Varys the Spider. Varys hints on that. It's like, yeah, she believes she's driven by destiny at this point. That's unhealthy. Like that makes you careless. That makes you think that you're going to win because you deserve to win. And it's merely making me thinking, like, man, you are throwing your hat into the wrong ring. Like, you need to get behind Jon. Like, Jon was the reasonable one up north. Like, Jon's the one, like, listen, we need to put aside these differences. The Army of the Dead matter, and then he got work done up there. And I think Tamir was the one that was saying, I forget the prophetic name, but like the Azori whatever it was, Zorai or something like that. Like that, the prophesied one. Like John's looking like it more and more. Like Daenerys is just like a dumb, uh, like a dumb child basically, like kind of wandering in there, which is sad because I had liked her when she was more, not I'm not saying tempered, but like she was kind of always tempered by her things. But like it doesn't seem like she's learned anything. Like that's kind of the troubling part. Um, but yeah, like it was frustrating. It was sad to see the dragon die because like they apparently these mighty beasts can only like fly 20 feet off the ground, and he catches like an arrow to the throat. And man, did they kill him good! Like there was like it's one of those ones like when they wounded him and he, like they could have wounded him and flew in the water and you wouldn't know for sure. Like no, that dragon's dead. They hit him in the heart and the face. It was also super disrespectful what they did to Ghost. I feel like that was something the show really dropped the ball on. Like whenever people say like, "Oh, Game of Thrones should go on for a couple more seasons," like I'm kind of like, no, like I'm okay with this being the last season if this is the way they're kind of treating things. Like Ghost is such a symbolic thing as far as the North, as far as the Starks, and everything like that. And the send off that they gave him, where Jon couldn't even get off his horse and pet Ghost goodbye, like the messed up Ghost who's missing an ear. Like I get like maybe they want to cut some CG cost or whatever, but man, like that's such like something that's been built up over so many years as far as like the direwolves and the Starks, and just to be like, yeah, you should take them north of the wall with you, and I'm not even going to go over and like pet Ghost, this thing who, you know, this beast who's been by my side for so many adventures and so many years, like, and especially being a dog and like the nature of like, not a dog but like a wolf, but the nature of that canine and human relationship that exists, and like you know how like dogs are with people, and it's like how much they love and like kind of are there for their masters. It's like you understand how much worse that was, I guess, in this situation for like someone who raised it from an abandoned pup to what Ghost was. And it's just like I feel like at some point like maybe they forgot about Ghost and like, oh shoot, what are we gonna do with Ghost? Let's throw him in here and let's say Tormund takes him. It's like that like I don't want to see more of this show if that's the way that they're going to rush through the story. It's like if they're gonna like, or at least touch on what I feel are major elements. Like yeah, you know what, you can end it. Like I'm good with it ending here, because it feels like, and like I said, I don't want to be overly cynical or anything like that because I still enjoy aspects of the show, and like this is just kind of my issues with it. Like I still kind of enjoy it, but it's just like it's like how the Walking Dead was in the later seasons, where I was just like I just ended up being frustrated more by stuff that they would do than I was like rooting for characters. And it's like, like why would you do this? And like I said, like that to me wasn't like a character action. That was a writer director thing where it's like are you just kind of like phoning that in to kind of like check a box off? Because I feel like Jon basically they're ignore like basically like kind of giving Ghost away like, hey, let's like see you later, man. Good luck out there on your own. And like I said, I know like the direwolves are a little independent. I know I'm kind of harping on this point, but it was just one of those things that really rubbed me the wrong way. I was like, man, like there's such a history surrounding those two characters in a sense, and to see it kind of swept off. And I was sad to see Tormund go too. But like I said, I don't know if like does he only have like 100 wildlings left? I guess they're not gonna be an issue at that point. Because the wall's not there anymore, and like they can pretty much wander south as much as they want and raid and pillage if they want to do a little of that, because they're always very nomadic in that sense, I think. But like I said, if there's only 100 of them, they don't pose much of a threat. Like I don't know what his actual numbers were, and we don't know for sure because of the way the show plays with numbers, specifically the Dothraki being 50% strong, which we still call BS on. Yeah, the scene with Tyrion, I was like, what the heck? Because why wouldn't Cersei kill him? Also, Euron's got to be the dumbest person ever because he's standing there right beside them, and he's like, he just found out today that Cersei's pregnant from within like, let's say within like the last 24 hours, he found out from Qyburn that Cersei's pregnant. And her freaking dwarf brother comes up and says, listen, do this for your child. Like, whoa, wait a second. Red flag. How does he know you're pregnant? Let's start asking a couple questions there. You're on. I mean, like, come on, man. Maybe this happened before you guys hooked up because Tyrion's been in the north fighting the army of the dead while you've been down here bagging his sister. Like, did she send him a note like, oh, yeah, totally hooked up with Euron. He knocked me up good. It's just one of those ones where it's like, does he even care? I don't know. It's like he's just such a blunt instrument tool when it comes to stuff. It's like, but yeah, it was like that. It's just one of those things. It's like, really, he's gonna sit there and say like, you do this for your child. Like, I know that you care deeply about your children. It's like, wait, he knows about our kid. How does that happen? Um, I feel like if Missandei wanted to go out like a real champ, she'd have taken whatever Cersei put her arm around her. She would have taken those chains around her arms, wrapped them around her neck, and been like, "Ah!" Threw herself over the edge. As someone who spent 100% life energy in multiple games killing themselves for a cause, like, man, you went out like a chump. Letting the mountain cut your head off whenever the queen's right there with you. Like, listen, even if they put a sword through your chest or anything like that, you got your chained arms around her neck, and you're dragging her down with you, and you're ending this right here and right now. Like, how awesome would that have been if Missandei's like the hero that ends this all, like, before it ends? Like, she goes out. Like, I know, like, it'd be unsatisfying to a lot of people, but I'd be like, yeah, you go, girl. Like, you get it. You knew you were gonna die, so you put 100% life energy into that attack, and you ended this war. Even if she would have failed, if she would have tried, like, I'd have been like, yo, respect for that. Like, that you would have had my respect. But I guess like they're still like on the prim and proper route. And it's like, yeah, that doesn't win you wars. Like, you get that opportunity, you shank somebody. Like, because like that, I feel like that would have kind of like made, like, that would have like made her, not made her name obviously, because like Arya's already the hero of the North. But yeah, like I said, like just being like having like the two unlikely heroes of the war like that kind of come out of nowhere. Like, I would have been okay with that decision. Like, I know Tamir was saying like he was a little off with Arya being the one that slays the Night King, and I was like, yeah, like I think I'd kind of lean on the side where I was ultimately okay with it. But same kind of thing here. It's like the dragons and everything like that. Like, listen, you get careless, you get too close to a prisoner who's like unquestioning loyalty like that. Like, I feel like you put a different character in that situation, or someone with a little more clarity of mind. Like, listen, this is my death. Like, you put, you're going out. Like, let's take her with me. Like, let's throw ourselves off the wall or something like that, or at least try something. I don't know. But yeah, that was my ending thoughts. Like, man, you guys went out like chumps, and you're acting like chumps. And you're acting stupid. I liked some of the conversations between like Varys and Tyrion, like, they're talking about treason and everything like that. Like I'm kind of with Varys at this point. Like, I'm wondering if like, man, like, cause Arya, like, I feel like you get to the right people, like, you convince Arya that like she's this dangerous person. Like, Arya will go up there and stab Daenerys. Like, she'll faceless man it up and go to kiss her as Jon and just a couple shanks to the side, needle them up. After she gets through like Cersei and what's it called, the mountain. I'm really hoping we still have the Clegane Bowl, where it's like those two face off in some way or another. Because, man, we've all been waiting for that. I guess, like I said, I think there's 2 episodes left, so we'll have to see. This has already gone way too long. Hopefully you guys enjoyed some of the thoughts I had on it. I know I complained a lot. Like I said, I still ultimately enjoy things, but I'm getting to the point now where I'm like, okay, like, I'm ready for the show to end. Like, you don't have to give me another season if this is the way you're gonna run it. Like, I'll remember the better parts, and I'll enjoy some of the majesty of the larger scale fights and everything like that. But like, you kind of like slipped up on what made me fall in love with the show so much in the earlier seasons. Yeah, so we'll leave it at that.